And welcome back to Wandering Through Wayne's World on WRPB-TCV. And in front of me I have a book. Yes, this is a book. And I've read some of it. And the author is sitting with me, Philip Nicozisis.
How are you?
Did I spell say it right?
It's pretty good. You know, if I had a nickel for every time somebody says it differently.
I try to get it out in the very beginning so I don't screw it up like I normally would. It's not that it's a hard name.
It's kind of like Philowitz, except a Greek is like a Jew with a ship.
But the problem here is that you have two ISISs.
Well, because it's two Greek words. Everything coming from the Greek, right? Nicozisis. Nico is victory, like the sneaker Nike. Okay. And then Zisis is life, a conjugation of Zoe. So my name actually means the victor of life.
Okay, so I read your book.
Okay. And
surely this was 12 months of the victory of life, in my opinion.
Thank you. Yeah, there's actually, it reads well because I think it turned out really well because there's 12 chapters, there's 12 cities in 12 months. I traveled in 12 cities, 12 months, 10 countries and 4 continents, running my real estate business from my smartphone and laptop with 48 people, 48 others. We traveled as a team, 48 people who were strangers on day one. And you can imagine what that would be like to get to know people and then unknow people as you're traveling with them around the world. It was kind of like a bizarre social experiment, actually, to travel with the team like that.
Okay, so you got 48 people that you meet, and you kind of like connect in the very beginning, I would think.
You really do. You meet because the company that right now is on hold because of this crazy virus that we've been all experiencing, Remote Year actually put together teams of people up to 50 people. And at one time they had, 8 different teams traveling around the world in these different cities.
Wow.
And so we spent 3 months in Europe, we spent 3 months in Asia, and then we spent 6 months in South America and Mexico. And I took Spanish lessons for 6 months and really didn't learn it that well. But the best way to learn I think the language is to look at Tinder profiles. But I really wasn't dating much in South America.
So my question is, so you go on this trip, do they have a chaperone that goes with you so you know where to go?
Yeah, there's the team leaders. They were two young ladies. We call them our mom. They were like our mom. And they were, paid staff, but they were basically like us, traveling with us, experiencing things like us. But they were, they didn't want to think of themselves as parents or chaperones, and they didn't want to think of themselves as helicopter parents either. So we really had to, use our discretion. And you're in South America. We land in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in month 7, for example. And the first thing they tell us is, you're not in Asia anymore. In Asia, in Japan, people leave their bikes like in their apartment building, and right in front, they leave their bikes unlocked. They go to the 7-Eleven and pull up in their bike. They would never think of locking their bike because no one ever stole anything in Japan.
Right.
Well, then we go to Argentina, and the first thing they say is, watch your pocketbooks, watch your wallets, or watch your pant pockets, because you won't even know it. And sure enough, a couple of the people on the team in Argentina had phones stolen, wallets stolen, and you don't even know. They're so slick at it.
Wow.
This is Argentina, but
I had a bad experience in Venezuela. I was in Venezuela, and they wanted to take us on this tour and up to this, I guess it was a museum or whatever, but it was like 4,000 steps. And I go to my wife at the time, I says, yeah, I'm not doing that. So I figured I'd stay downstairs. So now I'm on the street, and I'm across the street. I walk across the street to like the little newsstand, and I watch this old woman walking with her pocketbook towards the street side. 2 kids on a scooter come by, snatch the pocketbook. The cop stops him, 100 feet away, takes the pocketbook, gives it back to the lady, and lets the kids go.
So that was actually a version of that was the thing we had to be careful for. If you're in a taxi and you have the window down, or you're in a car and you have the window down, they will drive by in their motorcycle or a scooter and grab what they can and just keep driving. And you're stuck in rush hour traffic. So you cannot, once they take it, it's done. You just kiss it goodbye. You just watch them ride off into the rush hour sunset. But
I would love to go, like if someone said, what's on your bucket list, it would be Japan. Okay? I think the Japanese culture has always intrigued me. I mean, was that like, you went all these places, was that like one of your tops?
What's so funny is you've been busy all day, and you and I did not discuss anything before we went live on the air here. And so but out of the 10 countries that we lived in, some of them, Argentina was 2 months, Colombia was 2 months. Out of the 10 countries, Japan was my favorite because of the culture, because I finally found a culture where everything was done essentially perfectly, on time, with no drama, with no confrontation, everything was about their honor was at stake.
Respect.
And respect. If I could sum it up, if I could really sum up all of Asia in one word, it would be just that. It would be respect. Plus, the food, as a vegan, I really enjoyed the food, and that's where I learned in Japan. And then the rest of Asia, you could go to any restaurant and not even ask for the menu, just say, give me the Buddha meal. I'll have the Buddha meal. And I learned that in Japan. And, in Japan, you're going to get very colorful root vegetables. You're going to get, great dumplings. You're going to get vegetable sushi. You're going to get so much wonderful food in really all of Asia.
So you went to all these places. Did you know that you were going to have Laptop Will Travel before you left?
No, actually, I started writing another book called the Vegan Manifesto.
Oh, good thing you wrote this one.
I know, right? So, but 3 months into it, and before I even left, my mother, who was very much against me taking this trip, and my father was very much against me taking this trip, and my whole family thought I was nuts. And my friends, to digress a little bit, my friends were actually giving my length of stay an over/under, like under 3 months, $5,000. Over 3 months, $10,000. But I made it all 12 months. But wait, what was your question?
Did you know you were going to write this before you left? But you're writing a different book.
Yeah. So here's the real thing on that. My mother suggested I write a book. I said, Mom, I'm going to write a book, but not about this. But something, how there's two people to your consciousness. There's this thinking brain, and then there's this other guy inside that just kind of points you in a certain direction if you're listening to that person. And so what I kept a daily diary of my experiences as we moved through each city, as I met people, as all these things happened to me. And then I had a private Facebook page, which wasn't open to my Facebook friends. It was just a private Facebook page where I could take pictures and add captions for myself, that if I ever did write this book, that I was going to go through my diary and my private Facebook page. And so it's actually in month 5, I had this idea. I literally, and it's kind of like songwriting too for me. Sometimes I get a song title and an idea for a chorus, and then I'll write the music. Well, in this case, Have Laptop Will Travel, I think it hit me in a yoga class. And that must have been in Malaysia. It was in Malaysia. And then I had I knew we were going to Peru, and I knew we were going to Machu Picchu. I was going to make a side tip to Machu Picchu, which ended up being the cover of the book. I actually had the idea of, the name of the book, and then the idea that I would pretend to be working on my laptop here at Machu Picchu. I really did. This is a real picture, but there was no internet reception. I was not checking my email. And because of this vision of this cover, that was the inspiration for the book.
Okay, so you write this book, and this is a substantial book, just so you know.
It's 300 pages.
But what's really cool about the book is it's, for people like me, it has pictures. Just kidding. But it has highlighted spots, and if you can see them here, some are called fill facts.
So we've got these, we call them like segues. See these boxes. And the boxes, the segues, take you out of the story. And so they're either called fill facts, P-H-A-C-T, fill facts, which if you know me and my friends know me, like everything's a fill fact. And what a fill fact is, it's kind of like a fact that you're not sure if it's true or not.
It doesn't have to be.
It's a fill fact.
Right.
And it can tend to be, agitation propaganda that's meant to press buttons. But actually, for the fill facts that are a little bit over the top, I have no filter here. P-H-I-L-T-E-R. And here's a no filter. Oh, I noticed, this is Argentina. I noticed that every other woman in Argentina was pregnant or had an infant attached to her. No more fertile, no television in the bedroom. Who knows, but it was a baby explosion everywhere I went. No filter. Around the world, American travelers are not just known for their smiles and upscale dress, but also for their powerful pocketbooks. From my experience, merchants love us because we are typically generous with our money, while traveling. Americans tip. Too many other travelers from other countries think that tipping is just a city in China, but it's not. So, actually, those were pretty benign, no filters. I get a little naughty here. Okay. Then, lastly, wait. There's no filter. Phil facts and Phil feelings. Pheeling.
Okay.
And as you know, there's a love story, a romance story in the book starting
by accident.
Love tends to happen, right?
Yep.
It happened in Thailand, and we actually ended up traveling together. Fong is her name in the book. We actually ended up traveling together through 9 countries, even after my 12-month odyssey. And she's actually with me today. So we reunited. In the book, we had a breakup, and then I always said in one of my Phil Feelings segments that I would always keep the door open for her, and we did end up reuniting. So that's a happy story to
that's
to
like
our story.
So cool. Like I thought I had long distance because I live in Florida, and my long distance relationship was in Indiana. She ended up coming down, and we were both married actually in bad marriages, and we became best friends over the internet.
Wow.
And my wife died, and she got divorced. We connected and got married.
That's fantastic. You should write a book. Where's your book?
My book is here, okay? It's really about being blessed as a kid, because that's so important to me to help others. It's about having the first video store, having a heart attack.
You had a video store?
I had the first video store in Brooklyn. Yeah. 500 titles. People come and say, oh, a bookstore. Yeah, no.
Do you know a guy at a chain in Lancaster? I'm from Lancaster, PA. It's called Video 54. He was the first one in Lancaster. He dominated it with a chain in Lancaster, PA, Amish country, where I grew up, called Video 54.
I love the Amish country. We would go to, we were in Brooklyn.
Yep.
That was vacation to us.
That's vacation.
Okay.
That was the country.
And I got to tell you, just like I like the Japanese culture, and I'm jealous that you went and I didn't go, I love the Amish culture also.
The Pennsylvania Dutch.
And then I was awakened by a TV show called Amish Mafia. Did you see it?
Yeah, we're not too. Those of us Lancastrians. I still consider myself a Lancastrian because I've got some business there, and my parents still have the house that we were raised in there, and so these shows about the Amish they're certainly not complimentary, and we know because we live with the Amish and we know the Amish. We know that they're certainly not representative. It's so.
Okay.
I only watched one episode. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna support this.
People watch it. It's a reality show. It's a bunch of crap. That's what reality shows are about.
Okay, well, as long as you know that.
Yeah. But now we go back to a book.
This is a reality.
This is a reality show. But in it, what's interesting is, and take this I mean, and as I say it, you tell your story, but then you have things where you have no filter, okay? Because it's the way you feel, and you wrote the book, so you can write whatever you damn well please, okay?
Well, I did write the book. However, I did have an editor and a content editor, and you should have seen the book I wanted to write. I had to really take some things out and be a little less controversial. And also, my rule was I didn't want to write anything that my mother would call me up and say, "What? How could you say this? And, how could you just, represent the family and tarnish the family name like that?" Not that I did anything too crazy, but I did see some crazy things. I did have a couple crazy roommates on a couple of months. Can you imagine? I'm 50 at the time, 50 years old and 51 years old, and for the first time in decades, I have roommates on this remote crazy 1-year odyssey that I was on. But my book, with very little marketing, actually the publisher says it's because people really do judge a book by its cover. It has a cool cover. I sold 6,000 copies.
And a name that makes you want to read it.
With little or no marketing. And, I feel very blessed, and I don't say it to brag, but it was #1 in 7 countries and #1 in several categories, including business travel. But besides business and all the things that I did have a really good time. I was scuba diving in Thailand. I went snow skiing in Japan. People don't think of Japan as a snow skiing location. Well, let me tell you, I've been to all the other places, Park City and Lake Tahoe in Colorado, and Japan was world class. But besides all that, to me, some of the real rewarding moments was giving back as a group, because the Remote Year company set up some philanthropic activities. Like, for example, we built in Argentina, we built a hot water heater, a roof-mounted hot water heater, a solar hot water heater made of plastic Coke bottles.
Oh, that's okay.
And it worked like a charm.
Did it?
It took us the whole weekend. We had the organization that organizes this. For 3 weeks, we had to gather our own plastic and our own beer cans. We brought piles and piles of plastic and beer cans. And I mean, I explain in the book in a couple paragraphs how to make a hot water solar water heater that you mount on the roof. And we took us the weekend, like I said. And it was kind of like, we talked about Lancaster, PA, and the Amish in the way that they can do a barn raising. Mm-hmm. They can raise a barn in a couple of days. Well, we had this solar panel raising on their roof, and we stuck the water in the one end, and it coursed through the bottles, and then it shot out the other end, and without any leaks, which means it was going to work. And this was no experimental model. This was an internationally tried and true workhorse of a model. So I'm talking neighborhoods an hour outside of Buenos Aires where these neighborhoods didn't even have paved roads, and it was raining and wet that weekend, and I'm like walking in mud like this deep to get to these people's house.
In the book?
It's all in the book. Yeah, Argentina, chapter 7.
Okay, I have another question.
Yeah.
So how often did you switch roommates?
Every month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was there a month that you said, what the hell am I doing with these people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I could say a whole month. I mean, it's kind of like marriage, and it's like, here's a total stranger.
That's part of the experience. I actually got really lucky. So you fill out this questionnaire what your preferences were. My preference was to live in a solo apartment. So 6 of the months I lived solo.
Oh, okay.
And then the other months, I got really lucky and became like brothers. I mean, we have this like brotherhood. I mean, we've rushed each other to the hospital. I even saved in the book. His name is Victor. Victor, everyone pretty much understands that I saved him from a drug overdose as he was having the overdose.
Wow.
Just things that happen that you create this brotherhood and a bond that you wouldn't expect to have. At 50 years old, you're kind of your friends and your group is kind of set.
Were you like the older?
Yeah, when you're older, like.
Were you the elder in the group?
Oh yeah, I was the second oldest. Okay. The oldest was 55, a fellow by the name of Robert, and Robert dropped out after Thailand. He dropped out after month 5. That's the thing. We started out with 49 people, month after month after month. I'm telling you right now, it was by the time we're in South America, this is not fun anymore. This is grueling. So people drop out because they get tired. Some people lost their jobs. They had to leave. Some people missed boyfriends or girlfriends. Some people were literally tired of crappy mattresses and pain. Some people had physical things that flared up. Some people broke bones. I actually, in chapter 7 and chapter 8, I had a broken foot. Wow. So I'm hobbling around in a cast. And actually by then I was thinking to myself, why am I even, it wasn't who are these people, it was like, why the hell am I doing this anymore? And my dad would tell me on the phone at that point, that was like, the book I would say this book is very optimistic. But when I get to South America, when I get to 2 months in Argentina, and I didn't get along really the whole time. And the main reason is a very tense place to live because people are up against the wall with the economic catastrophe, with runaway inflation and all that. I talk a lot about economics. There's everything's in this book: nutrition, food, philosophy, politics, economics, plus all the personal stories. But what was my point? I was saying.
You were talking about by month 8. You were saying, why the hell am I doing this?
Yes, and my dad, and so there's a trough of my attitude in chapters 7 and 8, and then 9. Is when 9 through 12, I'm like back up here, and really the line in the sand for when things started working up was chapter 9 in Peru, when Fong and I, all the way from Thailand, she flew to be with me. We participated in a sacred ayahuasca plant ceremony. Have you heard of ayahuasca?
No.
Let me ask you again. Have you heard of ayahuasca? Are you sure? Because I know you have it. It is a plant that they mix with another plant and they make a tea. And you have to go to this like resort center, like a retreat center. You drink the tea, and you're in a hut about this size of this studio, and it's at night, and everybody gets sleeping bags and pillows and a vomit can. And you start tripping your brains out in a way that, I'm not talking about mushrooms or LSD. Like that's the little mushrooms are like the little brothers of what I'm talking about here.
Wow.
Like there's a psychotherapist on staff, there's a medical doctor in case there's an anti-venom in case you I don't know, you have a heart attack or something. Mm-hmm. But it literally, it's not, I'm serious, it's not recreational. I spend, I don't know, 10 pages going through my journey of what I confronted and the things, the emotional metabolism, metabolization, is that a word? I emotionally metabolized.
If you could do Phil facts, you could do Phil words.
I emotionally metabolized a lot of things in the ayahuasca plant ceremony, and it's not like a night of drinking, or if you did recreational drugs, you don't. When I snapped out of it at about midnight, we're in the trance from about 7 p.m. to midnight with 10 other people. It was all gone. It was like an anesthesia that just snapped off, with no grogginess, no nothing, just happy. And that's when I realized how blessed I was to even be able to be doing all this, to be on this journey, to be on this remote year journey, how much I appreciated. I actually made it a point in the ceremony. I promised the mother plant is actually, the god of creation is actually female. And everybody who takes the ceremony, who participates,
I can understand that.
Yeah, it's, creation by nature is feminine in nature. They bring, the feminine dimension of life literally brings life into the world and then nurtures it. So it's not a stretch, at least in the trance. And everybody talks about the mother plant because the creation is actually feminine in nature. But I actually made a deal with her in the ceremony that I was going to email, call, text everybody that I had an email, called, and text, and told them how much I appreciated them in my life. Like it was a spiritual, what's the word? Epiphany and a cleanse. It was really an emotional cleanse. And so, from chapter 9 on, after being really down in Argentina for 2 months and breaking my foot and everything, I was just, everything was really on the up and up.
That's so cool. We're getting to the top of our time. How do people get the book?
Great. So this book is available on Amazon. It's available in both the paper version. It's also available in the electronic version. And if you read the reviews, there's more reviews than most books will get, and they're almost all 5 stars. But I love the 1 and 2 star ones are the ones I love the most because the reason why they hate the book is the reason why other people love it. Okay.
Right. That's exactly how. I don't have a problem with someone not liking my show. Okay. Yeah. Because first of all, they're the ones that watch more than anybody else.
So that's what Howard Stern would say.
Okay.
Like the Howard Stern haters listen to the show to hear what he would say next because they hated his guts.
Yep.
But I don't think anybody hates guts over this. But they can get it on Amazon. Check out the reviews. But also, it is also available on audiobooks across all the platforms, Audible and whatever the other ones are, books on tape or whatever, in my own voice.
Oh, cool.
So you've got 9 hours of my own voice and reciting the book, and that was very emblematic of what it's like to write a book. To read a book is hard. To write the book is the closest thing a man will ever come to childbirth.
Next to kidney stones. But okay.
Next to kidney stones, okay. Well, as a vegan, I will never get kidney stones. So, you know how you know if someone's a vegan, right?
Yeah, they'll tell you over and over and over again. You're right. I'm like the anti-vegan because I don't eat vegetables and I really don't eat a lot of fruits.
You're upgradable. It's okay.
This is it for me. And here's the thing about the book. This is read. This is like reading. Okay, this is what makes it good for me because I'm not a book reader. Is that I look at this book like I look at a book called Limited Duty. It's almost vignettes. Mm-hmm. So it's this month, this month, this month.
Yeah, that's what people like about it.
And that's what I like about it.
So because there's 12 chapters, there's 12 cities, and people, they see the city list. Some people just jump around.
Yeah.
They'll just jump around and see, oh, well, I'm thinking of, actually, guy was going to go to Portugal with his wife, and he jumped right to the Lisbon chapter to see what Portugal. He's like, oh, I'm sold. I can't wait to go to Portugal. So people will jump around. Actually, since we're talking about the chapters, one thing that I think worked out nice is each chapter has a map where with an arrow you can see where it is, and it also has a quote that intends to set the tone. And for example, in chapter 4, Kyoto, the quote is, I told him there was one city that they could not bomb without my permission, and that was Kyoto. That was the Secretary of War in World War II. That's how special Kyoto is. It's the spiritual capital of Japan. And I got to live there for a whole month, and just reading that quote just made me choke up if you didn't notice, because that's really what Kyoto is all about. It's just an incredible, magical place that not even we bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We bombed the daylights out of it and burned all those people, right? Well, this guy, the Secretary of War, wouldn't even let them drop a bomb on Kyoto because that's how special it is.
Wow. Everybody, check out the book. Check out Phil. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
Everybody, have a great day. We'll be right back.